Before we get into this podcast, I want to give a huge thank you to our production team over at Hyre, spelled Hyre, formerly known as Hey Lou. Yep, they rebranded. Go check out HYREUP.com. That's hireup.com to find an amazing A-plus rockstar talent VA like the ones who produce this podcast and actually serve as moving consultants at Two College Brothers. And now I want to just say thank you to the nearly 300 people who have already bought their tickets to the upcoming Moving Titan Retreat. We're counting down the days, and we can't wait to see a whole bunch of new faces and a whole bunch of familiar OG faces out there. We're going to have some amazing speakers, predominantly in the moving industry, but we have a headline appearance by Brad Lea from the Dropping Bombs podcast. Go check him out if you haven't already. He brings a ton of value. And I'm really excited to announce that we're going to be rolling out Tighten Up Training 2.0. We've been beta testing this all summer with Two College Brothers, and we actually replaced a Trainual with it. And we have brought over all of our SOPs to the new version of Tighten Up Training that's much more interactive. We've actually been working with Brad Lea and his whole team over at Lightspeed to reassemble it, break it down to the bare bones, and rebuild it into something way better with Tighten Up Training 2.0. And it's the same great content that's been on there that you've been training your movers on and your salespeople on and everybody else, but it'll now have the ability to add your own SOPs. Don't have SOPs? No problem. We're going to be offering a solution to help you with that too at the Moving Titan Retreat. But come see us September 10th through the 12th. It's at the Tradewinds Resort in beautiful, my hometown, St. Pete Beach, Florida. You'll fly into Tampa, spend 3 days with us. We're going to be masterminding, collaborating, brainstorming, talking about our troubles and our roadblocks, helping one another get past it. And we've also got a lot of fun planned for it. It's a beautiful 7-acre resort. Bring your spouse, bring your whole family, and best for last, we're going to be having a pickleball tournament. I'm actually getting ready to go play some pickleball right now after this podcast. So come see me September 10th to the 12th at the Moving Titan Retreat in St. Pete Beach, Florida. Fly into Tampa, and we'll look forward to seeing you there. Go visit movingtitanretreats.com. That's movingtitanretreats.com to grab your tickets. You don't want to miss out on some of the latest innovations that are going to be announced at this largest moving industry event for independent movers in North America. So we hope to see you there. Actually, it might be the world. Hope to see you there. Tighten up.
The value of your company increases 1.5 to 3 times EBITDA just because you have a training system in place. Because if anybody's ever going to come in and buy your company, they don't want all the knowledge and the intellectual property in everybody's heads. Okay, they want to know that it's a documented system, and systems are what it's all about. So at the end of the day, I don't think you need to be super intelligent to succeed. I think you need 3 pillars, and those 3 pillars anyone can do. And ultimately, that will determine whether you're successful or not. It has nothing to do with your intelligence.
So what are the 3 pillars?
The first one would be your mindset. The second one would be your skill set. And then the third one would be your habits.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited to kick this thing off. I'm your host, Wade Slikel, host of the Grow Your Moving Company podcast, co-founder of Titan Retreats and Tighten Up Training. And today's guest, we've got a treat for you, as he likes to say, to kick off his podcasts. The real Brad Lea. He's the founder of Lightspeed Virtual Training, which he started from scratch and has grown it into a multi-million-dollar leading interactive training system all around the world with all kinds of different industries. He's the host of the Dropping Bombs podcast. Many of you guys have heard that. It's got a huge following, millions of followers online. And he's the best-selling author of the book, The Hard Way, which I just finished listening to on Audible, which is also narrated by Brad. And that podcast voice, it's a great read. Go check that out. But he's worked with Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, Grant Cardone, and many others. He's notorious for giving people their starts when they come onto the podcast. And I think we've actually got a speaker at our upcoming retreat that was recently on there, Mr. Reagan Weiss. And Brad is going to be headlining the Moving Titan Retreat this year. For those of you who don't know who he is also a husband, father of 7, a philanthropist, investor, and a speaker. And we've been working hand in hand with Brad and his team all summer long to revamp Tighten Up Training, make it 2.0. And we're really excited to share with you what that all is going to entail. But Brad, welcome to the webinar and the Grow Your Moving Company podcast. How are you doing today?
Fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I gave you a little bit of an intro, kind of hit the highlights, but if you wouldn't mind, in your own words, briefly tell us your story. You started off essentially with nothing, according to your book, and you got into the tech space and grew this massive platform, and now you're all over the internet as a thought leader with your podcast, on your social media followings. But I kind of want to hear it from your own words. Who is Brad Lea?
I would describe myself as an entrepreneur by the definition of the word, someone who takes larger than normal financial risks, especially in business. I've always started businesses. Um, the first one that kind of worked was Lightspeed VT, which is the training technology that a lot of different organizations use to train people better, communicate with them. But since then, I've opened up, several more, fortunately, because of the social media following. So a lot of people now, think I'm a comedian, which I'm not, a podcaster, which I do on the side, but really I'm a entrepreneur. I'm the CEO and chairman of multiple businesses, and I'm ultimately just trying to, create opportunities for growth, for not only our own internal companies, but people all over the planet.
I love that. And I mean, it takes, a smart person to get into business, I like to think, but an even smarter person to succeed in business. Like I say about the moving industry, it's a low barrier to entry, but it's a high barrier to success. And the tech space, I can imagine, is even higher because you're competing with really intelligent people all over the world. What do you attribute to the growth that you've seen with Lightspeed and your other businesses, and ultimately what's made you a successful entrepreneur? I want to give a huge thank you to the team that produces this podcast, and that's the team over at Hire. Now, who's Hire? You probably know them as Hey Lou. Well, Hey Lou has recently rebranded to Hire, Hyre, and their new website is hireup.com, Hyereup.com. And they've been fantastic to work with. It's the same owners, the same management. They're still doing an amazing job in sourcing amazing VAs. We use them from everything from administrative work to KPIs. They can help with emails. They're basically your assistant, your virtual assistant, and they live all over the world. They come from South America, Central America, Asia, anywhere where there's remote people willing to work. And the cost of living over there is a lot less. So you can save a lot of money as a business owner getting them and working with them to do tasks you used to have to pay in-office employees, and we all know how much of a hassle that can be. So if you're looking to get a VA like we use them for, we actually use them for sales. We have moving consultants that are VAs. They're perfect English-speaking people, extremely intelligent and hardworking. You won't regret working with Hire to find your next rockstar A+ talent. So go check out HYREUP.com and tell them I sent you.
Wade, I would hate to push back on your own webinar, but I do not believe that you have to be intelligent to succeed. I think you can't be stupid, obviously, but you don't really have to be. I dropped out of high school at 16, didn't even get a high school diploma. Now I have PhDs and MBAs and all these people with degrees working for me. And I always make a joke that, you don't need a degree if you can hire one. So at the end of the day, I don't think you need to be super intelligent to succeed. I think you need three pillars. And those three pillars anyone can do. And ultimately, that will determine whether you're successful or not. It has nothing to do with your intelligence.
So what are the three pillars?
The first one would be your mindset. The second one would be your skill set. And then the third one would be your habits. If you don't have the right mindset, you're gonna sabotage yourself. If you don't have a high enough, self-worth, it's very difficult to get a high net worth. So I always tell people, if you want to raise your net worth, you got to raise your self-worth. This is all mindset. This is all the belief system that we operate in. Since we're little, we're programmed to believe what we believe. And all of us have varying beliefs. And those beliefs determine what we do and what we choose and who we hang around and what we tolerate and what we allow. And those beliefs need to change in order for our actions and decisions to change. And those actions and decisions are producing our results. So if you're not happy with where you are and you want something more or different, well, then you have to just, again, this isn't rocket science. This isn't intelligence. This is just fact. To get something different, you have to do something different, right? That's not like high IQ stuff. You can't keep doing the same thing and expect to get something different. So to get something different, you have to do something different. In order to do something different, you have to change your beliefs. And the only way to change your belief is to get new information. And that's basically, reading, learning, listening to podcasts, attending events, all of that. So the mindset is critical, because if you don't believe the right things, then it's very difficult to, for example, get good at something. So the mindset's important, because with the right mindset and the right energy that you're vibrating in, you're going to attract like energy and like opportunity. And then you have to get good at whatever it is you're doing. The best in the world always get paid the most. Okay. So again, this isn't rocket science. If you want to get good at something, you just practice. You got to get the right information. Then you got to practice. Then you got to freaking practice some more. Then you got to practice some more. And if you literally practice for a long period of time, you can get good at anything. Now, there's certain skill sets that I believe contribute to financial success, at least financially. And then building a business, there's certain, skills that you need to possess in order to build businesses. Now that I've built several successful 8-figure businesses, it's easier to buy them. I mean, building them's the bitch. You're right. You ought to just buy them, quite frankly. But there's still people out there, they want to build their own business, and they're building one right now. So it's like, okay, you're building a business. How do we do that? Well, you got to get the right skills, right? And then the last one is habits. What are your daily habits? Because your habits will determine your life. So if you show me someone with a failing business, I'll show you somebody with failing habits. There's nobody out there consistently doing the right things that are failing. And last but not least, if you want to be financially successful, somebody forgot to tell you that you must get into the position to receive commission. You have to sell something. Everybody is selling something. I don't know anybody successful, financially at least, that isn't selling something to somebody. So whether you're building a moving company, you're selling safety, you're selling, reliability, you're selling. So what are the skill sets that you want to master in that, or in that, field? Sales and closing would be one of them. Communication would be one of them. Relationships, how to build and leverage relationships would be one of them. Personal branding would be one of them. Marketing would be one of them. And then leveraging AI would be one of them. I can keep going. Leadership, there's certain skills that you need to possess. So if somebody's telling themselves the truth, which is where it all starts, the truth, man, stop lying to yourself. Quit pretending that you're somebody that you're not. Just become the somebody that you want to be. And see, the craziest part is you have to be in order to become. So people think that they're going to become something and then they'll be that. You have to be that in order to become that. So at the end of the day, it's mindset, skill set, habits. If you master those, you don't need to be very smart. You will be unstoppable.
So you always had this mindset. It all I'm imagining starts with that mindset, because you got to have the mindset to want to learn and develop the skill sets that you need, and then to maintain those habits. You said you dropped out of high school at 16. I imagine you probably hit a couple bumps on the road to where you're at today. But have you always had that fire, that passionate entrepreneurial spirit inside of you, or how did you pick yourself up from getting out of high school at that early of an age and going off to do your own thing?
Well, at the time, I was pleased that I got kicked out. Like, I had no parental supervision. I could do what I want, go where I want. I was free. So in my immature mind, it was a great thing to happen. And so again, it really forced me to start learning from the street, from doing instead of hearing about it. See, a lot of people, they go to college and they start to learn things that it doesn't serve you in the real world. College is great for relationships, networking, having fun, meeting people, partying. The education, that's a bonus. There's nothing wrong with the education that you get. But 9 times out of 10, when you get out of college, well, now you're going to do what? You're looking for a job. And 9 times out of 10, you end up working for a guy like me who didn't go to college. They just went out and started building businesses, started freaking getting hit in the face, realized that that's all part of the plan. It's what strengthens you. You have to make a million mistakes to get good at something. You don't have to. You can learn from someone who did. That's why these masterminds, these mentoring groups, these training programs, it's a shortcut. It's a cheat code. A lot of people think there's no shortcuts in life. See, we get taught all these things that are just nonsense. There are shortcuts. Okay. There's many of them. And if you learn them and take them, it'll save you years. You know what I mean? I mean, how many mentors and books have you read that saved you years and massive amounts of headaches? There's shortcuts right behind you.
Oh,
There's
oh,
Yeah, so we hear all kinds of things like, fly under the radar. Guys, you don't want to fly under the radar. You don't want to fly under the radar. You want to smash the radar. Okay? You want to get all the attention you can get. Build a social media following. The only reason I can start and launch successful companies one after another is because of the personal brand that I built. And building a personal brand is not that difficult. Anyone on this call can do it, period. You don't have to be smart. You have to be consistent. Okay. And you have to be authentic. And I can teach you some shortcuts, but at the end of the day, it's somebody's going to do it and somebody isn't. I'm one that did. Other people are ones that didn't. They were too busy trying to figure out how to properly lift the desk. It's at the end of the day, yeah, safety's great and everything, but I don't plan on being the one moving the desk. So you might have people on here that they're doing the moving themselves. You do not want to do the moving yourself. Okay. I promise you. Wait, are you still moving?
not unless I want to. Sometimes I need a little workout in, but it's not. I don't have to do.
You're not going to build a massive moving company by yourself. You're not going to build it, uh, uh, doing the work yourself. You have to build a team of people. And in order to build a team of people, you have to become a leader.
So you brought up a really good point there with the personal brand and building up that social media following. You've got well over 1 million followers on Instagram, and I mean, I'm sure you combine all the platforms. You've got millions of followers. You got the podcast. You've done an excellent job with that. I imagine when you were just starting out or in the early years of Lightspeed, I mean, nobody probably knew who Brad Lea or Lightspeed was. Take me down that path of how you built your personal brand that now you're able to leverage for all the businesses that you're a part of.
Ask the question one more time.
So take me down the path on how you built your personal brand and how now that you are in a place where you can leverage that personal brand and that following to just accelerate any business that you become a part of.
Well, the reason I built a personal brand is because I was watching, all of these other clients of mine. One I used to hang around almost every day by the name of Grant Cardone. And I was sitting there watching Grant get more and more known. We would be in a Starbucks and people would want his picture. And I'm like, man, this is like, dude, he's just selling training. Like the guy's not a celebrity, but everyone's treating him like one because they saw him on social media a lot. So I just looked at my wife one day and I said, man, I got to build a brand. She said, oh, you're not going to be one of those guys, are you? And I said, yeah, I'm going to be one of those guys. And so I just started posting content on social media. Well, for the first, I'd say year, I probably only had, a couple thousand followers. It wasn't working. And, you'd get a few, but it just wasn't working. So at the end of the day, I started to recognize that you're going to need a lot of volume, and the volume is what most people miss. So so one day a camera guy comes in and he kept pestering me to make content. And I didn't have time to make content because I have businesses, man. I'm not a social media influencer. I'm a businessman and I have businesses and I have real issues and real situations and I'm busy. So he just kept pestering me to make content. And one day he walked in and bothered me for like the ninth time because he was, you know, adamant about making content. And I was on a phone call and I just pressed mute for a second and I looked at him and I said, bro, just turn the camera on. Okay. I am the content. And I was just being a smart aleck. And so then I got back on the phone call and I didn't really expect him to turn the camera on, but he did. And so he just started filming me talking to customers, talking to employees, walking around my office, smoking my cigars, you know, being funny, doing whatever it is I do on a regular basis. And that's really what gave me the volume of content because he just let the camera run all day long. Well, at the end of the day, I had 7 hours of content. Me talking to people, me getting on phone calls, talking to customers, closing deals, just being me. And so that content started to get chopped up, and that's when people started responding. So that's why I say the first thing you got to do is find yourself, meaning, you know, figure out who you are, what you stand for, get what I consider authenticity. So many people are afraid of what others are going to think and say that they don't say anything. You know, they post something and then their friend says, you know, oh, that's douchey, and so they take it down. Or they post something and then somebody has an opposing view and makes a comment, so they take it down. And in reality, guys, you need 4 to 5 videos every single day on every single channel. So if you don't have the quantity, okay, don't worry about quality, just be you. And again, if you guys are movers, for example, I would see you moving a lot. I would see you talking about moving, which would cause me to call you when I wanted to move. So, I mean, it just automatically starts driving business into your business when you're authentically being who you are, talking like you talk. Quit worrying about what everybody's going to think. Quit worrying about, well, you know, if I say I don't believe in Jesus, my followers will unfollow me. Or the opposite. If I talk about Jesus, no one's going to like that. You know, maybe some Muslims are going to unfollow me, or some Jewish people will unfollow me. It's like, guys, figure out who you are. Okay? Stand up, be proud, okay? And just be yourself and quit worrying about what everybody else thinks. It's called allodoxophobia if you want to look it up. Allodoxophobia is basically the fear of other people's opinion.
There you
And
go.
so
Word of the day, allodoxophobia. I love that.
yeah, so I didn't really have much allodoxophobia, and so I just let them post whatever it is I did and said, and then, you know, over the years, next thing I know, I had 100,000 followers, and the next thing you know, it was 150,000, and the next thing you know, it was 200,000. What people don't realize though is it took 5-6 years to get to 1 million. It's not an overnight thing unless you're buying followers, and if you're doing that, you're defeating the purpose. Fake followers, fake likes, fake comments, they're worthless. Not only are they worthless, but you know, if real people figure out that you're fake, when you're not really fake, you're just trying to look better than you actually are, you lose credibility. Like I know people that, you know, their social media says they have millions of followers, but they get 2 comments. You know, you don't have millions of followers. You bought millions of followers, which is, I guess, vanity, but there's no purpose in it. They don't buy anything. They don't share. They don't like. They're just, it's just a vanity number. So consistency is all that it took, and authenticity.
You know, I'm glad that you brought up that combination, and going to Grant Cardone. I mean, the whole way I found out who you were was through Grant Cardone. I love the 10x rule book. I probably read and listened to it like 3 or 4 times, and started following Grant. Saw he was doing the 10x conferences. Saw that you were going out to one of them, and that's how you first got onto my radar. And he's big on the 10x stuff. You know, post like you said 4 to 5 times a day, probably more than 10x what most of the people on this call are actually posting. But I think what a lot of people are afraid of, I'm not even going to try to say allodoxophobia, I think it is. You don't want to be that cringeworthy influencer who is just trying to make themselves sound like a guru when they haven't built a tangible, large scale role model business. And I think that's what scares a lot of people away. Like, is there a certain stage in your business career, your career in general, your wealth, whatever it may be, where you think that, you should transition more into that authenticity content posting role, or maybe you should stay away from it until you get to that place, I think is a better way to phrase that? Or should the guy just now starting out start posting 4 or 5 times a day, whether it's a candid conversation, somebody following them around? I mean, is it ever too early to start with that authentic content? I want to take a second and tell you all about Tighten Up Training. As a co-founder, we've spent months and months and months and a lot of money pooling together resources from some of the best moving companies in the world. And we're excited to bring this to an online platform available to any mover to use at an affordable price. Tighten Up Training has over 200 videos, including mover training, your highest turnover position, so that you can reduce claims, streamline operations, give your team the tools to perform at the highest level of service that generate repeat and referral business and allow you to charge higher prices, as well as sales training, marketing training, business development, leadership. We're adding more content as we speak. We've got legal training in there. We've even got door-to-door training for the moving industry, thanks to Lenny Gray at the Moving Titan Retreat. We've seen a massive explosion of moving companies jumping on to Tighten Up Training since the last retreat, and people are loving it. And when you sign up and mention this podcast, we're going to give you a free 6-week onboarding course in order to learn how to hold your team accountable and get the entire team on the platform so that you can have the best off-season and summer season that you've ever had. Ideally, the best 2025 that you've ever had. So go to tightenuptraining.com, schedule your free demo today, and look forward to tightening up.
Yeah, the best time to start was last year.
Mm.
The next best time is right now. So to answer your question earlier, if you're not a guru, because you haven't built businesses, you're not an expert at anything, don't pretend to be. Like, there's tons of people out there that are followed and have millions of followers, and they're not claiming to be a guru or an expert. They are who they are. There's an old lady that just bitches at people. She just complains, and she's got millions of followers because she's funny. But at the end of the day, the problem is everybody thinks you need to be a guru for someone to follow you. That is not true. Otherwise, it would be called Guru-gram. Okay. At the end of the day, if you're being you and you're not a guru, you don't try to act like a guru. I see sometimes, young kids trying to be a guru, and you just scroll right past them. Why? Well, first of all, you're 21. How much can you possibly know? Second of all, you're quoting stuff that you heard someone else say because I heard it 10 years ago. Number two, you're trying to be a guru when you're not one. That's inauthentic. So the key is authenticity. If you're just starting a business, tell a man, dude, I am scared shitless. I just decided to open a business. I got my bank account. I'm not sure what to do. Come on with me. Let's go knock on some doors and see if I can get my first customer. Shit, I don't know what I'm doing. If that's the truth. Is that the truth? Well, then tell the truth. Well, if everybody thinks I'm brand new, then nobody's going to want to move with me. Bullshit. There's going to be people that like you because of that. There's going to be people that go, this guy's real. And that's what cuts through the noise. I think the only reason I have followers is because everybody tries to be something they're not. And you see me, and it is what it is. That's why I always say in the beginning of my podcast, what it is.
Ah, nice. Now it makes sense. That's that's awesome advice, because when I was just starting off with my moving company, I was 21 years old. I was certainly not a guru. I was trying to learn as much as I could, but I think a lot, I was trying to put out content. I was trying to do that. I was trying to put together community events, and there was a segment of my friend group that probably thought I was getting a little egotistical, if you will. But I was doing it to promote and give exposure to my business and trying to build my personal brand. And, it's sometimes it's uncomfortable, but I like the candid approach that you had mentioned, the authentic approach. And I think in most of my 20s, was kind of trying to find that authentic voice. And, maybe am a little bit still today. Is there any advice that you have for getting over the haters that, maybe they're your friends, maybe they're your family, maybe they're making fun of you for posting all this stuff? Because a lot of people, they just want to lay low, they want to fly under the radar, and anybody who sticks out, it's like the crab crawling out of the bucket. They want to pull them back down. I mean, how do you get over that like personal uncomfortability? And I don't know, maybe you've never had to deal with it, or when you were just starting out, if you ever felt uncomfortable. But there's different personality types. I'm curious to hear your take on that.
Yeah, I'm the only guy in the world that doesn't have to put up with that. Everybody loves me. Everybody loves me. Nobody says nothing bad about me. No, listen, at the end of the day, again, this isn't rocket science. At the end of the day, you have to come to the conclusion that you can't make everyone happy. Would you agree?
Yeah,
You can't make everyone happy. Would you agree?
I agree.
Okay, so if you can't make everyone happy and you're going to make a list of who you're going to make happy, you can pick your parents and you can pick your family and you can pick your business associates, or you can pick, the fraternity you're with. You can pick anybody you want, I suppose. But when you start trying to think about, well, who are you going to make happy then? Well, most people forget to put their name on that list. And as soon as I wrote my name on that list, it glared out like a sore thumb. It was like an obvious choice. Like, that's who I'm going to make happy right there. I know that I'll never let him down. I know that I'll be with him for the rest of his life. Like, that's the guy I'm going to make happy. Everyone else is not my concern. And not only that, Wade, I can't make you happy. You can only make you happy. I can't make you happy, just like I can't make you mad. See, that's the thing what people don't realize. If you're mad at somebody, you chose to be mad at that person. And my thought is, why would you choose to be mad? And you can't get me mad.
It's a
Nobody
waste of energy.
nobody can make me mad. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can choose to be mad based on your offensive comment or whatever it is you did. I can choose to be mad about it, or I can also choose to not be mad about it and just laugh. So I always call it choosing heavenly energy. Now, I don't know where you are with your spirituality, but here's what I strongly believe. Okay. We were born with something called free will. And the free will is the gift everybody's searching for, and they already possess it. You ever hear somebody say, like, we've all got that power inside of us. You just got to tap into it. And we're imagining this light and this superpower. It's just the power of choice, free will. So you have free will. And if you understand the power behind free will, well, then it just means you have the ability to choose. So you can choose to be operating in heavenly energy, or you can choose to operate in earthly energy. Now, for me, heavenly energy is your confidence, it's your certainty, it's your hope, it's your joy, it's your happiness, it's your love, it's your gratitude, it's your kindness and generosity. It's all the things you would think would be in heaven. And then your earthly energy, that's all the shit you see around here: your greed, your envy, your anger, your drama, your depression, your fear, your anxiety. That's all earthly energy. That doesn't exist in heaven, at least as the story goes. So at the end of the day, if you've got a choice to operate up here in heavenly energy where the light is, or you have the choice to operate down here in the fear, anxiety, depression, and where the darkness is, do you want to operate in the light or do you want to operate in the dark? Just answer the question without thinking.
Obviously, the light.
Makes sense to me, right? You don't need to be a freaking PhD to figure that one out. So I choose, because I got free will, to operate here. I'm not operating here. If everybody down here wants to operate that way, that's their business. So as I'm throwing social media comments off my back shoulder, like they don't even affect me at all. Why? Because I choose to operate up here, and nothing is going to make me choose to operate down here, period. So that automatically puts me in an advantage, because we're all just a frequency. I mean, it literally, scientifically speaking, we're all just a frequency. We vibrate at a frequency. So you can vibrate over here or you can vibrate over here. It's just a choice. It's just like the radio. You get in my car, you're listening to rap. You don't like rap, you just turn the station. No problem. Same thing with how you walk around during the day. Your vibrational frequency, your frequency is what you frequently see. So if you shift your perspective and start looking at things from a optimist perspective, look on the bright side. You've heard that before. Then you're going to operate in a frequency that's vibrating and causing other vibrational frequencies to attract, because you get what you emit. So if you're walking around pissed off all day, you're just going to find things to be pissed off about more and more. That's why when you have a bad day, it starts to get worse, starts to get worse. Next thing you know, you're in a car accident. Dude, people don't realize they're attracting that shit. Stop attracting it by simply choosing. Well, but Brad, how do I choose? How do you choose? You choose, you make a decision. I'm going to operate up here. Now, someone comes along and they say something rude. Again, I might still feel the emotion of starting to get angry, but I use that as a trigger. That's just a trigger to my mind. Oh, choice time. It's time to make a choice. Do I want to be pissed or do I want to be happy? And 90% of the time, I say, you're not getting me, brother. I choose to look at things differently. I choose to operate in a different frequency. And with that, I have more opportunities. Everything that looks like risk and trouble and challenge becomes opportunity.
Mm.
Opportunity is everywhere. And I take advantage of opportunity because it looks like opportunity. Most people avoid opportunity because it looks like risk.
And work. Sometimes opportunity takes a little work. It kind of goes to like what Tony talks about, Tony Robbins, with the reticular activating system. You look for red Jeeps and you're going to see nothing but red Jeeps on the road. Try that little experiment when you guys are all driving later. But I hear what you're saying. I mean, I read about that in my book, Hometown Titan. The vibrating on that higher frequency, it attracts people that are also up on that frequency. And that's why I love the events that we do with the Moving Titan Retreat. How we got into that is because we wanted to get in a room with a bunch of ambitious, like-minded moving company owners that had either gone through the same struggles, going through the same struggle, had the new ideas, had the opportunities, and so many opportunities have come out of getting into the room with those people. And that's why we do the events that we do, and why we're bringing people like you up to it, and a lot of people that are on this call out to it, because it gets you in a room with those high frequency people, and I always come back super charged after being around that, because sometimes it's lonely as an entrepreneur. It's lonely at the top when you're in a community, and it's harder to pick and choose the people that you surround yourself with, because they're just not on that level. They're working a 9 to 5 job that they might hate, or they're not they don't have the ambition that we all have as moving company owners. And if I let myself slip, I know it right away. Like I about a little over a year ago, I was going through a breakup, and a week afterwards, after the breakup, I got into a car accident, like you just said, because I knew that my frequency had dipped a little bit. And even though I was the one who got hit, it's still can't help but think that I attracted that negative energy. And it was a good turnaround, good wake up call. For those of you who are in the chat, feel free to ask Fred questions. I'll definitely bring them up. But I want to switch gears a little bit and talk a little bit about, training with Lightspeed. You mentioned earlier about college. The only real reason to go to college is to build your network and make connections and have some fun. With today's day and age, we have training online for almost anything you could possibly want. You can take online courses a lot of times for free with major universities like Harvard. I just signed up for a weather course that I get to audit for free through Harvard. But things like Lightspeed, I've gone through other people's courses on Lightspeed and YouTube. I mean, there's so many different resources out there. But when you started Lightspeed, none of that really existed. You had to still go and sit in a classroom if you wanted to learn something. And you were one of the first, if not the first, major platforms to start hosting people to do training and education and put the online course out there into the world, because that really didn't exist before. How did you get into that? Were you really big into training before you started Lightspeed? Did you need something? I mean, what was what was your why when you got started building one of the world's largest leading online training courses or platforms and courses? Most of you have heard me talk about Moversville and the power of their email marketing service that has helped us increase leads by over 112% over the last year. But have you heard of Moversville Connect? Moversville Connect is an incredible resource for all things moving. They feature an array of vendors and services and lists like insurance providers, softwares, equipment suppliers, marketing sources, and much, much more. The best part? This resource is free. Go check out Moversville Connect today by going to moversville.com and clicking Connect. That's moversville.com and click Connect and discover the world of Moversville beyond email.
It was more out of necessity. It was kind of an accident. I was able to create really good salespeople very quickly at the company I was working with. I was pulling people out of Burger King. I was rescuing people from landscaping jobs. I was turning regular, hard-working, blue-collar people into badass money-making sales machines. And so I thought, man, this is cool. I can change someone's life financially. I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to start a training company. So I quit my job and started a training company, and I ran out on the road and got my first gig. And, they came in and there's, 20 people in a room, and, they paid me 10 grand to be there, and gave it my all and gave them all my great information and left. And then did it again, and then did it again, and then did it again. And now I'm living out of a hotel basically. And when I follow up to find out, how'd everything go? How's it working? How are people liking it? I wasn't getting the warm and fuzzy, and I wasn't seeing people like succeed, and I couldn't figure out what the problem was. So I said, man, what was the difference? I'm doing the same thing, at least I thought. And so I said, let me look at what I was doing. And so when I worked at the company, I was delivering good content with repetition, practice, and accountability. And when I went out on the road, I just had the good content. There was no repetition, there was no practice, and there was no accountability, because I just said what I said, moved down the road, said what I said, moved down the road. And it wasn't working because those four things were not a part of it. So a lot of these companies out in the world today, they think they have a training system when they actually have an exposure system. They're just exposing people to information, expecting them to actually learn, and learning requires repetition, practice, and accountability. So once I discovered that was the problem, I set out to find someone who could build me an online training system. And then it had to be interactive, because when I was in person, I would ask questions and respond based on the answers. So it had to be interactive. And then I had to be able to track and measure, and they had to be able to, win awards and make it, gamified. And so overall, I just, invented the Lightspeed system in my head, found some programmers to build the first one. There was nothing out there. When you say I was one of the first, I was the first person that built an online interactive training technology. And in fact, I don't think there's another one still. Now, there's online video libraries, there's online video hosting platforms, but a true training system has to have good content, repetition, practice, and accountability, and leverage that interactive component. And we don't know of one that actually does that still 25 years later. But that's how I kind of came into it. And then it started working for me. And I was up against like Grant Cardone, for example. And so I'd knock on a door to try to sell them my training system. It's a system. It's not just videos. It was a whole training system. And that's the key. And I couldn't talk them into, getting rid of Grant or Joe Verdi or Zig Ziglar or Tom Hopkins or whatever trainer they already had and loved. So rather than trying to fight with these guys and compete with these guys, I asked one question to one dealer. I said, let's use Grant Cardone since people are familiar with him. I said, if I had Grant on this technology, would you buy it? And they said, yeah, if this was Grant's training, yeah, we'd get it. And so I just stopped right there, and I ran over to Grant and closed his ass on using it, and then told him where his customer was. And then I just said, I just want a little piece, a little tad for Brad. You go get all the customers I can't get. I'll let you use my software. Just give me a little sliver to deliver, a little fraction of the action. little slice because I'm nice. And ultimately, I closed Grant and Joe Verdi and Zig Ziglar and Tom Hopkins and Tony Robbins and John Maxwell and all these big, huge name trainers, and I just white labeled and private labeled my technology and let them use it. Then they started selling it into the companies, big companies. And then the companies would call because they didn't see anything like it. And they're like, how do I get this platform? It works 10 times better than our video library. And they didn't really understand why. Well, again, it's cooler. The interface was better. The adoption rate's higher. The testing mechanisms aren't just static. You can't cheat. So it was just a much better result because of the four pillars of training. And then we started licensing it to businesses and companies and franchises and hotels and restaurants and manufacturers. And that's how that started.
And now you have some of the huge corporate companies on there that run their entire onboarding training systems playbooks off of it. And we just got done working with you and your team to take what we had with Tighten Up Training version 1.0, which was mostly videos, and work with you guys to build it into an actual system to utilize all these features. And we basically transitioned all of our stuff over from Trainual. After you and I talked, you mentioned Trainual is like riding a bicycle, where I also, have the Rolls Royce in the garage. And so we brought it all over, and we've got this awesome 2.0 system now with Tighten Up Training that we'll be demoing at the Moving Titan retreat coming up. So now where we could run our whole company off of it. It's like two college brothers university. And you essentially, it sounds like we're looking to go dig the gold in the gold rush, but you saw that there was a better opportunity to sell the shovels. So you hired some people smarter than you to build the store to sell the shovels to these other guys to go out and dig the gold. And you got a little cut of it. And that's in and of itself a lesson on business, like you said, hiring people above you. But I'm curious, out of the people that are tuned into this, if you've got your own systems and processes documented, whether it's on Google Drive, whether you hand wrote it out, whether it's in a physical book or on Trainual or another platform, drop a one in the chat. I'm just curious to see how many people have their own SOPs. And Brad, can you kind of speak to some of the importance of SOPs and systems to operate your company? Like, we're now doing with Lightspeed, and so many other huge corporate and trainers out there are also doing. Like, what benefit does that have to have your own SOPs?
Well, I mean, first of all, the value of your company increases 1.5 to 3 times EBITDA just because you have a training system in place. Because if anybody's ever going to come in and buy your company, they don't want all the knowledge and the intellectual property in everybody's heads. Okay, they want to know that it's a documented system, and systems are what it's all about. I mean, again, I've never built a moving company, but if I were to build a moving company, I would think of basically four things. Number one, it's not just trucks and muscle, okay? It's systems. Anyone can rent a truck and hire a few strong people to lift the crap around. What separates a business from a hustle is the back end. It's the scheduling, the CRM, the customer service, the inventory tracking, the agreement, the insurance, the follow-up, the whole thing. Without processes, your reputation can get hurt. You'll drown in chaos once the jobs pile up, and you're going to eventually, go nowhere. The second thing would be your reputation is everything. Okay. Moving companies live and die on trust. People are letting you handle their life's possessions. One bad Yelp review or Better Business Bureau complaint is going to cost you thousands of dollars in lost business. Okay. Over communicate. Okay. Show up on time. Wrap and protect everything better than the next person will. Solve problems fast when they happen. Train your crew to treat every customer like they're freaking moving grandma's china. Like, training is massively important, and people have to be bought into the culture. Okay. The third one would be like, labor is the real battle. Finding and keeping reliable movers, the workers. It's hard, backbreaking work, this stuff. I've done it before. Trust me, especially when you go upstairs and you find out some dickhead has this heavy ass safe you got to bring downstairs through this ridiculous maze of stairs, and you can't hit the wall. So it's like, finding and keeping reliable movers is harder than finding customers. Okay. It's back-breaking work with high turnover. You're going to need like, incentives, okay, bonuses for damage-free jobs, okay, tip sharing, a hiring funnel. You always got to be recruiting, a training system, not just a bunch of videos, but an actual training system. And you better not be still doing, Larry's going to teach you. Larry, what if Larry gets hit by a truck? What if Larry quits? Like, dude, get Larry to get it out of his head and get it on at least a piece of paper. Okay. But training systems is what it's going to be about. With a strong crew, you don't have to do the work yourself. Without a strong crew, dude, you're basically an owner operator, and that's not a business, guys. That's a cage. Okay. You're going to have to do everything yourself, constantly apologize for poor performance, constantly apologize for people breaking people's shit. Okay. And then last but not least, I'd say know your numbers. Okay. The moving business is deceptively expensive. Okay. Trucks break down, gas eats margins, workers' comp, liability insurance, all that crap's probably non-negotiable. Okay. If you don't calculate like cost per truck per day and profit per job, you're going to burn through cash faster than you think. I would imagine that successful moving companies, they got their pricing down. They got their upsells down, their packing, their storage, their junk removal, their route efficiency. Everything is set up to protect margins. All of that are systems and processes, SOPs. If you don't have those, you don't have a business. You have a side hustle. So that's how important it is, if you ask me. A moving company isn't about trucks. It's about trust, systems, people, and math. Nail those four, and you can scale from a local weekend job. And there's some people thinking, well, dude, I don't do all that, and I'm doing pretty damn good. Just because you're doing good doesn't mean you can't do better. I was having a meeting with my team the other day. Every time I bring up, hey, where's these efficiencies? They want to tell me how much money we're making. And I said, guys, I'm not after profitability. I'm after efficiency, right? We need efficiency. The profitability will take care of itself. If we're profitable, inefficient, how much more profitable will we be efficient? So again, it's about, systems and processes. And one of the systems you're going to need is a training system. So again, build one yourself. Titan 2.0, by the way, or your Titan moving.
Titan up training.
Yeah, your Titan up training. That can be private labeled for any company on the planet, to where they don't even need to make their own. They just press a button and then customize yours, because you probably already have most of the things they're going to need and adopt. Or they can use what they want and customize it, and now they've got like a shortcut to make their own training system. But I would have a training system.
Yeah. And I can't wait to show you guys what we've built out with Two College Brothers. I mean, it looks like it is custom built specifically for Two College Brothers. And it's got all the great content from Tighten Up Training, but it's got all of our SOPs that we've created. And I think, what you're saying, when you have most moving companies that I know, it's a very people driven business. A lot of moving company owners, they rely on good people. They got to hire guys with 30, 40 years of moving experience, or, maybe 10, but but they're hiring these guys that come from other moving companies that didn't have any training and didn't have any systems. And they just learned how they learned from the guy before them. And they picked up a lot of bad habits on the way. But we got a dialogue on one of the Facebook groups recently about a large moving company owner, like $40 million moving company owner, who said that she doesn't even hire people with moving experience because she's got her systems dialed in. And some guys were just calling BS on that. And I was like, I'm pretty sure she knows what she's talking about. She's bigger than any of you guys that are tripping in here. But $40 million moving company doesn't happen by accident, just by finding a few good people out there. And I mean, it takes good people to run good systems, but at the end of the day, your labor pool opens up a lot more when you can train them efficiently, like you said, on the right way to do things. You just hire for good attitude, and then you train them for the aptitude. What about companies that don't have their own SOPs? Obviously, we've got a lot of good content with Tighten Up Training. We've got all of our Two College Brothers stuff, that's specific to our company. And you guys are welcome to demo that, but you can't necessarily have the proprietary stuff for our company. But we want you to build your own if you don't have your own. I'm curious, Brad, what's the best way to build your own SOPs? Where do you even get started with creating company specific SOPs for your business?
Well, one of the easiest ways is, walk in with a notebook or a voice recorder like I have. Where's my voice recorder? And literally have the person who does the job just literally voice note everything they do from the second they open to the second they close, then
Do it right
transcribe.
here on the cell phone.
Yeah, and then transcribe it. And then the transcription serves as the basic documentation of what it is. And again, you don't do that if someone sucks. Like if the like if you don't really have anyone good in that position, you have to find someone good first. But assuming you've got the managers and the people that know, how the business operates, it's just never been documented. Okay, well then, every single section. I have a rule. If you do it more than twice, document. If you're doing it more than twice, make it a system. And then you just document. Now those documents should eventually end up obviously in a binder or on a trainable type bulletin board where it's all accessible quickly. But again, I mean, as you know, it's better just to have a full-blown training system. They're not more expensive than any of those other things, but it would start with getting it out of your head, usually a voice recorder. My receptionist, as an example, I asked her to do this and I didn't realize everything that she had to do during the day. So if I would have written the training manual because I'm the boss, I would have missed all the things that makes her good.
Mm.
I said, well, you start at 8 o'clock. This says you're here at 7:45. She says, yeah, if I'm not here at 7:45, well, then I can't make the coffee on time before people start showing up. It's like, I never would have known that. I'm not the one making the coffee. When you come out of the boardroom, people have to go in there and make sure the whiteboard's put back and everything's dialed in. So basically she just noted everything that she does on a regular basis. Then we took that, we transcribed it, and then we built the process for the receptionist role. And then we put it in the training system. And now I can hire a receptionist, issue a password, and that receptionist is fully trained before she ever starts the first day. And she knows exactly what we expect and what we want. And there's no gray area. Like it's clear what she's supposed to do. She's tested, she's tracked, she's measured, she's monitored. Um, and that she knows. So if she's not doing something, you don't have to wonder if anybody told her. You know that she's just unwilling to perform. So there's so many benefits, it's crazy. But to answer your question, you just got to get it out of their head, and a lot of times it's in their head. So a voice recorder or just a journal. When you walk in tomorrow, start taking notes what you do all day. And what you'll realize throughout the week is they do a lot more than you might think. As operators, as the owner, I'm the owner. Jimmy does that, and Jimmy schedules those. Well, I don't know all the little things that Jim's doing all damn day. Where that's where the magic is. That's where the expertise and the quality is. So you just have them noted all down, and then you turn that into the script and or the outline of the syllabus of the content. And now there's 71 things that we do on Tuesdays. There's 31 things we do on Wednesdays. And when you put it all together, there's 219 things you have to be aware of to do this job right.
Mm. And now with AI, it's even easier. I mean, you've got tools like Loom, you've got Scribe, you've got Synthesia, you've got the note taking, transcribers that AI will do all that. And there's really no excuse to not get your own SOPs. I mean, you could probably build it all with ChatGPT in the next 4 hours if you really put your mind to it, because it's going to basically highlight all the different things you want to capitalize on. But I'm curious, Brad, what are you using AI for? What's the biggest use case for business owners with AI in your opinion?
Well, just to go back real quick, not to mention, folks, Your business value increases the second you have a training system in place. So let's say right now you're doing $1 million in revenue. And let's say you can get a 3-time multiple, even though that's probably, I don't know what the moving multiples are, but
It's like 2 to 4 EBITDA on, a not, on a company less than $20 million in revenue. You're usually looking at like a 2 to 4x on EBITDA, assuming you're like 20% profitable on average.
okay. So if you had a 2x EBITDA without a training system, you got a 3x EBITDA with a training system. Because buyers want to know that is not reliant upon a bunch of individual and their knowledge. They want to know that they have a system, a business. A business is a set of systems, documented, repeatable, trackable, measurable. So if you don't have that, you need to get one immediately. And what's funny is half the times it costs fractions of what it's worth. Moving forward to the next question. I leverage AI a million ways. I'm talking to AI on the way home, on the way to work. I'm brainstorming with it. I'm having it read agreements before I send it to a lawyer. It's better than my lawyer because it answers me immediately and it finds every little tiny thing. And by the time I'm done, then I just have my lawyer look at it for a final review. AI is not going to come to court with me, so I still have my lawyer look at it. But at the end of the day, I've never had, since AI came out, have my lawyer say this is incorrect. They're like, yep, we agree. Why? Well, because it's already trained on the smartest lawyers in the world. So looking over agreements, creating agreements. There's AI that can create ad campaigns. There's AI that can literally book your ads on Facebook. There's ads that can write customer service scripts. There's AI that can I mean, dude, AI is going to do a lot, but it's never going to move the damn furniture, which is why moving companies, folks, I'm telling you, just like HVAC and, let's home services, blue collar, they're going to become white collar. So you guys are in the right business right now because AI is not going to come move the damn bed. Okay. Trust me. Okay. It's going to require movers. It's going to require trucks, logistics, and you leverage the AI to do all that better, faster, stronger, and a fraction of the price. But moving companies aren't going away.
Yeah, I agree.
Matter of fact, they're getting bigger. And if you guys aren't growing, you're crazy. If you're not coming to the event, you're crazy. You should be at the event. I want to bring a few things about AI, but mostly I want to talk a little bit when I'm there about how to systematically grow and scale an organization quickly. Because I've grown and scaled multiple of them, and I have a framework that anyone can use, and it's effective. And you can go back immediately, same day, and say, "Am I doing that? Nope." Boom. Here's what he said. Get that done. Get that done. Get that done. Get that done. Boom. You start growing like a weed.
Yeah, I know private equity is going after a lot of home services, HVAC being the first one that comes to mind, and people are wondering why haven't they come hard at moving yet? Well, they're looking at moving right now, but the fact that hardly any moving companies out there have their systems and processes and their training dialed in, and that they're not leveraging all the technology, they're leery about it. But that's coming. I mean, there's so many more resources for the moving industry available today than when I started out about 15 years ago. We didn't have they had some videos you could order from Thomas and Training for, $100. They'd send you some DVDs and a workbook. This is that on steroids. What's coming up here. Now we have CRMs. Now we have AI. Is it mostly Chat GPT that you're doing that with, Brad? Or, I mean, there's Grok, there's Gemini, there's all these different ones. Is it really just like that Chat GPT that you're talking about with what you just said?
Well, I use one called Magi, Magai, Magi. And the reason why is because the guy was on my podcast, but and I like the dude. But what he did was pretty smart. He built a front door to where if you pay your $20 a month to Magi or whatever it is, you log in and you ask the question, and it gives you access and answers from ChatGPT, Grok, Claude, all the language models. So instead of going to get a subscription to one, you got a subscription to all of them, and their most advanced versions are automatically in Magi. I don't know how he did it, but he did it. And so I use that one because I get the advantage of all the answers.
I love that. That's a good golden nugget to wrap it up on here today. Unfortunately, I have so many more questions, Brad. I can't wait to see you in a few weeks at the retreat because there's a lot of stuff that I want to get into, and I'm sure that our audience is going to have a lot of questions as well. We've got over 300 people so far committed to the event, so you'll be out there September 10th to the 12th. I don't see any other questions from the chat. But if you haven't got your tickets yet to the Moving Titan Retreat, come check us out in St. Pete Beach, Florida on the 10th through the 12th. Brad will be there. He's going to be bringing the knowledge. He's going to be dropping bombs just like that last bomb with Magi. Definitely checking that out after this call. And we're going to be rolling out the Titan Up Training 2.0, and you can demo the Two College Brothers showroom model, if you will, that we've spent all summer tweaking and building so that you guys can see what it's going to be capable of with SOPs, and we'll have some resources to help build some of those SOPs as well. But Brad, anything you want to part with here on today's webinar / live podcast that we have going on?
Well, I would just say when it boils down to it, look inside, understand the power of free will, and, choose heavenly energy.
Love that. Get that higher frequency, folks. Get in the room with other people that are drawn to it as well. Brad Lea, thank you so much for coming on. And I know you got more bombs to drop and more podcasts and businesses to run. But I'm looking forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. And I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing everybody here in the chat in a couple of weeks at the Moving Titan Retreat. Again, it's September 10th through the 12th in St. Pete Beach, Florida, which is Tampa. So flying in Tampa. You can get your tickets on the website link that was just dropped in the chat. It will be in the show notes as well on the podcast. And until next time, let's grow our moving companies together and tighten up.
I want to give a huge thank you to the team over at Hire for helping me produce this podcast. Now, Hire is formerly known as Hey Lou, and it's run by moving company owners, and it's a VA placement agency that can do all kinds of things from video and content editing, social media, administrative work, KPIs. Heck, at Two College Brothers, we even use them as moving consultants because they speak perfect English. Sometimes they're in different time zones. A lot of them are located in Central and South America or all over the world, and they work hard. So if you're looking to find your next A+ rockstar talent team member, then go check out Hire at hireup.com, spelled HYREUP.com, and tell them I sent you.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Grow Your Moving Company podcast. If you'd like to learn more about any of the sponsors listed on this show, want to apply for the next Moving Titan Retreat, or interested in owning or working for Two College Brothers franchise, drop me a line at wade@twocollegebrothers.com. Moving out. Have a great day.